Welcome to Letting Go of Her podcast, where we are learning to let go of all of our past identities and finding our identity in Christ. I, your host, Maria Lopez, will take you on my faithful walk and journey into finding my true identity in Christ. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Letting Go of Her podcast. Today's episode, as if like I don't already get, pretty raw and vulnerable in any of the other episodes, but this specific episode, I want to talk about what has truly been on my heart and what has been extremely convicting for me lately. And I wanted to record this episode, I don't know, maybe like a few weeks ago, but I didn't know how to put it into words. But after today and after conversations today and after kind of what happened today, I feel that um I guess I'm better able to express myself or truly express what it is that I want to say. So I had a therapy session this morning, and like therapy with my like therapist, with my licensed therapist, not biblical counseling. I do biblical counseling through the church that I go to, but this is therapy that I get through my insurance, and she's certified or has her master's, whatever it is, like a clinical psychologist, I guess. I don't know. There's different titles and stuff, right? But so this is a therapist that I have been. I started seeing her when I was pregnant with my son back in 2022, and then I was discharged, and then anxiety hit me at full force, and so I had reached back out to her, and I think at like towards the end of December, and she didn't have availability for me until somewhere like mid January. So I've been seeing her since January, and based on our previous session that we had, she thinks that within 6 months that I can be discharged again. um, Honestly, I called my therapist back because I panicked. No pun intended, but I panicked, and after one meeting with the biblical counseling, I was like, I don't feel any better. Like this isn't working. So I panicked and reached out to my therapist and I was like, I need help. But by the time I saw her, I was already in a way better headspace. But it has been nice to go back to therapy, and it has been nice to kind of explore more of like what's been going on in my brain and what's kind of been picking at it. But we did have a session this morning, because she said that she thinks that in 6 months, she feels comfortable enough to be able to discharge me. She wanted me to just kind of journal and narrow down like what are a few things that you really truly want to work on or want to get over, or want to explore. And today the thing that we talked about the most was self-pity. I grew up in a very emotionally unavailable family. um, I grew up in a very unloving home, in a very judgmental home, in a very critical home. And I grew up just always thinking that I was never good enough. And the fact that, my mom had me so young, and like all of my life, basically, or all of, I guess, like my middle school, teenage years, the only thing that was like instilled in my brain was like, don't get pregnant because getting pregnant and having a baby ruins your life. um you know it kind of made me feel as a child like, oh wow, well, my mom got pregnant with me, so I must have ruined her life. And yeah, I always had like just very low thoughts of myself, and very critical thoughts of myself, and very judgmental thoughts of myself. um to the point where, now as a believer, there are moments and times where I think that God is judgmental of me, and I think that God is very critical of me, and I always feel that I cannot live up to the high expectations that God has for my life. And that is not true. We all know that that is not true. In Ephesians, it says, that He by his grace we are saved, and it's not by our own doings. um, which is, a concept that I'm still trying to understand, and a concept that I'm still trying to engrave in my head. But, um, just the thing that I have been dealing with a lot lately is the self pity, just that victim mentality. And it's funny because, like, well, I guess it's not funny, but it's funny because, like, logically, I understand, and logically, I know that I shouldn't be thinking this way or that I shouldn't be feeling this way, but my heart still feels pain, and my heart still yearns for something that I don't have, or something that I will never have. I told my therapist that holidays are still very triggering for me. And specifically, we just had Mother's Day, and I don't have the best relationship with my mom. Like, we have a relationship, but it's not where I know that neither of us, want it to be. I know that we both want something more, but we don't know how to get there. And my mother-in-law is, we've had our we've had our things, but we're in a civil place right now. But we were at church Saturday night because we decided that we were going to take the kids to the beach on Sunday for Mother's Day. And so we decided to go to church Saturday night. And, pastor was saying, like, oh, my wife took the grandkids out to go and buy gifts for their moms. And they were so excited. And, they did, different trips and stuff. And I remember sitting there in the middle of church and being like, ouch, like, I don't have that. Like, I don't think that my mom or my mother-in-law have ever, like, asked to take my kids somewhere so that they could buy me a Mother's Day gift. I don't even think my mother-in-law or my mother have given me like a Mother's Day gift, or even have said like Happy Mother's Day. Um and like, I just kept thinking in my head, just, very negatively, just like, I don't have that. I won't ever have that. And then it was like the self pity of, like, why me? Like, God, like, why me? Why did I have to be born to a family this way? And why did I have to marry into a family this way? Like, why me, God? Like, why can't I have that? Why can't I have nice things? Like, why can't I have good relationships with my family where we can all get together and do things like this for each other? And, then my mind just keeps spiraling. Like, it's not fair, God. Like, it's not fair that I'm the one who has to suffer, and that I'm the one who has to deal with this, and break all the, generational trauma, and have to heal from all this. Like, why me? Like, why am I have to be the one to feel everything, to see that everything is, was wrong, and that I need to do better. And kind of in the midst of it, I'm like angry, and I can feel just my anger boiling inside of me, of like being mad at God. Like, why did you deal me this hand of cards? And I told my therapist that, that I was sitting in the middle of church, just feeling sorry for myself. Um, and that, I told her, I was like, logically, like, I understand, like, I get it. Like, I get that I, was the one that was able to see just this dysfunctional pattern, because, other people didn't see or didn't think that anything was wrong. And I'm like, and I know, that they did love me, and that that I was good enough, and they loved me to the best of their ability. Like, logically, I know all these things. And I'm like, but my heart still my heart still aches. My heart still aches for what I don't have, what I won't have, what I never had. And I just I don't I don't want to pity myself anymore. She made a point of, like, who said life was fair? And just reminded me, in the book of John, where, Jesus literally says, like, you will go through trials, like, you will suffer here on earth. And it just reminded me of when we went to the women's retreat, I went into one of the seminars about idolatry. And, she was talking about idolatry in terms of like, being vain, money, like just like typical things, I guess you would think that you idolize above God. But she also mentioned like feeling that you deserve no pain in life can be a form of an idol, or feeling that you deserve better can be a form of an idol, because we think like, well, I already suffered before. Why do I have to keep suffering? And you just get so stuck in that mentality, a victim mentality, really. And you start to idolize that more than God Himself. And I've just kind of been really convicted on that lately, because I'm like, what is it that I'm idolizing more than God Himself? And for me, it's this self-pity. For me, it's to think that I am, in a sense, greater than any suffering that He can give me, that I don't deserve to suffer anymore because I already suffered before. But He never promises that. And I don't want to keep thinking that either. And it's just been this like battle in my head of like, why am I still thinking this way? Like, why do I think that I deserve better, when truly just knowing Jesus Himself is the best thing that I could ever do in my life? And it's the best way that I can ever make up for anything that I've ever lost in my life. And two different things pop up in my head. I guess it's the same thing, but I've heard it at two different occasions. I heard it yesterday. Oh, we were at the women's group. Someone was talking about, her mission trip that she was on, and how she was falling into just, self-pity party for herself. And she, was quickly reminded, like, it's not about you, it's about Him. And today, my therapist reminded me of the exact same thing in a different sense, in a different context. But she said, it's not about you, it's about them. And it's hard. We're inclined to be just very selfish people. Um and I've just been really, 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 really convicted about that lately, of just like how selfish I've been lately, and how I am um almost like not believing in how big our God truly is, because I think that, He hasn't been working in my life in a sense. Like, I feel like because my relationships haven't been per se like healed, or haven't gotten any better, or aren't where I want them to be, like, I feel that God isn't listening to me, and I feel that God isn't working in my life. But the overall picture is that, He is. And I can only control like what I do. I can't control, my mother, and how she deals with things, or how she tries to, kind of fix our relationship. And I can't do what, you know, my mother-in-law, like, I don't know what she's thinking or what she's doing, or how, can't control how she's going to fix our relationship. Like, I can't control any of that. And the only thing that God calls me to do is to love them regardless. And it's hard, and it's been hard for me when I feel that I deserve more. But who am I? Like, who am I to think that I deserve more? And truly, what I'm doing is doing better for my own kids, because I might not have that, but I'll be there for my daughter when it's Mother's Day, and take, if she has kids, and take her kids to go buy her a gift. And I'll be there for my son, and his wife, and I'll treat his wife differently than, how my mother-in-law has treated me. And I'm able to fix that. And God, literally only through God's grace am I going to be able to fix, mend my future relationships that I don't even have, that I don't even know are going to come. But, through his grace, and the strength that He gives me, I know that I will be able to do things for the better. But yet somehow I'm still wallowing in self-pity. Yet somehow I'm still asking for more of God. And it's okay. Of course, it's okay to ask more of him. But at the end of the day, who does that glorify? Does it glorify him or does it glorify me to mend those relationships? It, it doesn't glorify him in any way. The way to glorify him is for me to love them regardless. That's how I glorify him. And to just do better and teach my children better. That's how I glorify him. It's not by mending fixed or broken relationships. It's there's there's just been this heavy thing in my heart lately. And I don't want to think that way anymore. I don't want to be in self-pity anymore. I don't want to feel sorry for myself anymore. I want to be truly just embraced by the love and the presence of the Lord. And I know that it's me. Like it's literally just me who's stopping myself from feeling all of that because I'm over here putting walls up. I'm over here just like stopping him from fully just embracing in my life, right? Because I'm like, nope, I don't want this, Lord, because I want that and I want that only. I'm the one stopping myself. It's not him. He's always been there. But I'm the one just being stubborn and I'm the one just feeling sorry for myself because feeling sorry for myself is a lot more of a familiar thing to me than it is to accept being loved. I don't know what that's like because I hate myself more. And I don't hate myself, but like I just I pity myself more than anything. I was watching this TV show on Netflix and there one of the last episodes that I saw was so he's a comedian and he made it to the finals or something of some comedy show and he goes and um people he didn't want people to know like people that he worked with and people that knew him. He didn't want people to know that he was a comedian. But you know, everyone found out and so at this final everyone showed up and it only made him more nervous and he starts you know telling his jokes and nobody's laughing like nobody is laughing, nobody's even you know giving a chuckle, like nothing. And so he's like, okay, and he grabs the chair and he sits down and he just starts giving honestly I thought it was a very just beautiful monologue on his trauma, like his past trauma, and he had a very dark a very dark past. And he starts talking about you know all the things that happened to him and things that were done to him. And then he starts talking about this woman that he met, and he says, I met a woman and she was you know the perfect woman for me. And he's like, and I loved her and I loved her so much, but I couldn't love her back because I was addicted to feeling shame and I was addicted to feeling sorry for myself. And he's like, so I hated myself more than I could ever love her. And I loved her a lot. And I know that he was talking about a woman in a relationship, but just it really made me think and it really just honestly that monologue, even though it had nothing to do with God or anything, truly convicted me because I you know it made me think like, am I addicted to feeling shame? Am I addicted to feeling sorry for myself? And do I hate myself more than I love God? And I love God like above everything, but do I maybe just hate myself a little bit more? Now, in like a biological, maybe psychological, well, in a psychological sense, um, people who have lived their lives in a fight or flight response their whole lives, or like in a very anxious state their whole lives, are addicted to feeling anxiety, and are addicted to feeling these like high spikes of adrenaline, you can call it. Um, it's why people love watching like very dramatic TV shows or movies, or like scary movies. It's because, when your body starts to feel calm, it needs that kick again. It needs like that drug of adrenaline again. So you watch these TV shows or you watch these movies, and then you get your heart rate up, you get the adrenaline going, and it's like, oof, okay, I got my fix. Um, I've pretty much lived my entire life in a very anxious state, in a very fight or flight like mode. I've been ready to either fight or flee at any given moment. Um, so, around last year when I was finally at peace, where I was finally just like living my life and enjoying my life, not feeling an ounce of anxiety, my body freaked out. Um, it freaked out, and it turned into a full blown panic disorder, um, because my body didn't know how to feel peace. My body doesn't know how to feel safe. And I've noticed that now lately, because it's almost as if like I need to go to every place that I used to go to and rewire my brain into knowing that it's safe in this location again. Because I'll be going to different places, and places that I go to a lot now, I don't feel any anxiety, but places that I've only gone to maybe once or twice, or haven't gone back at all, since I developed this panic disorder, I can feel the anxiety start to build up. And I just kind of have to sit there and give myself a moment to just realize, hey, you're safe here. Nothing is going to happen. Like, you're okay. And, it's just about rewiring my brain, just rewiring those neurons in there, and just to so that they know that whatever place that I'm in, even if it's unfamiliar, that I'm gonna be safe. So, biologically, that's how our body tends to work. So it only makes sense that if all my life I always felt that I wasn't good enough, and that all my life I felt unlovable, and that I felt like a burden, it makes sense that now I'm addicted to that feeling, because it's a familiar feeling. It's more familiar to me in my head to feel sorry for myself, and to, feel sad and cry and depressed. Like, my body is so much more used to that. That's just how it thinks. It's just naturally, it's just prone to think more negatively than for it to think positively. And I'm just like stuck there, because even though logically my brain knows that I shouldn't think that way, and my brain knows to think happy thoughts, you can say, but my body doesn't. And my body wants to do everything it can to stay in that anxious state. So it only makes sense that the enemy is going to use that against me, and he's going to keep feeding me these lies and telling me that I'm not lovable, that I'm not good enough, and to continue for me to self criticize myself and to be extremely judgmental of myself, because that feeling is way more familiar than me feeling the love and the presence of God. And I don't I don't want to keep feeling that way anymore. Um yeah. I don't. And it's something that's been just kind of really heavy in my heart, and um just something that I felt the need to talk about, because I don't know if there's someone out there who's maybe struggling the same way. Maybe not in the same sense, but maybe you don't realize what else you're idolizing, or maybe you don't realize what other feelings you're addicted to. but I want to be addicted to the love of God. And I want to be addicted to the presence of God. And logically, I know how to get there, but my heart is still holding back. And I'm sure that it's still holding back resentment, and I'm sure that it's still holding back anger and bitterness. But who is that hurting? It's only hurting me because it's hurting my relationship with the Lord. I know that I usually pray at the end of each episode for myself, but also for whoever's listening who resonates with whatever it is that I'm talking about. But honestly, today, very selfishly of me, I'm going to ask if you can pray for me. Um, because this is just something that's just been very heavy on my heart. And I know that I I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to pity myself anymore. And I don't want to put any walls up in between my relationship with God anymore. Simply because I'm afraid that I'm going to get hurt or judged or criticized. Because that's not who the Lord is. So I'm gonna kind of leave the music running for about a minute or so, and I'm just gonna ask if when you're listening to this that you can just pray for me, that either the Lord soften my heart, or the Lord just show me that He won't abandon me, or just to give me the grace, just grace for being angry at Him, or the patience. I don't know, but I'm just gonna kind of let the music run for a bit, and if you could just pray for me. If you've stuck around this long, thank you for tuning in to Letting Go of Her podcast. If you'd like to subscribe or leave a review, that would be greatly appreciated. Also, don't forget to go over and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can listen to the podcast, or you can also see a video of it on YouTube/Letting Go of Her podcast. Today, I am learning to let go of that bitterness and that anger that I still hold in my heart. I'm learning to let go of my idolizing, that I deserve better. Because just knowing you is the best thing that could ever happen to my life. Because I am a new creation.